Okay, team, welcome to another one of our world famous, awe-inspiring, huge podcasts. See how I built that up, Janie? It's like we're already trying to bring the heat. We was on a call today talking to someone, and there was like, we need to bring energy for you. I was like, don't worry about that. We've got that in plenty. So, but anyway, so welcome everybody. I don't know how you're watching or listening to this. This could be going out as the podcast in terms of you're running along and you're listening, or you may be watching this on YouTube, however you want to do it. But we appreciate you joining us on our pre-record because, Janie, we're all up in Newcastle when this is going out because we're all doing the Great North Run this weekend.
Nice.
So that's why we're doing this pre-record because the Great North Run week is a big one for the club and big one for us. Look, we've got a huge shakeout run on Saturday. So it just takes a little bit of pressure off to be able to pre-record these. So we appreciate you coming on. So introductions before we get into anything. We've got Janie Perry here, who's our nutritionist specialist, just hero, who's going to be answering all our questions about what we should and shouldn't be eating as runners, and hopefully just like putting us straight because me and Hayden really need to get on top of this. And then obviously I'm joined by the Hobbit. Hayden's here, the world's smallest man. He's here as well, so he's going to be helping out tonight. We do want to give a shout out to our sponsor Skechers at the front end. Go over to skechers.co.uk, check out the new Aero line of running shoes. Skechers are with us at the Great North Run, so that's kind of awesome. They're supporting the live pod that we're doing, so that's great news. So massive love to them. Right, I want to get cracking tonight. So Janie, tell us firstly, because I want to know, what is a registered nutritional therapist or therapy? What exactly is it all about?
So I'm passionate about nutrition, helping people eat right for whatever their health, wellness, performance goals are. I really focus on sports nutrition and weight management, which surprisingly are often linked. I mean, I have a lot of athletes who come to me who want to lose a bit of weight, but also want to perform really well. But I love both arms of what I do, but I'm a really keen marathon runner. So I've run 21 marathons.
Wow.
And I'm 55 and I'm not giving in. And we're heading to New York in November.
Brilliant.
So so that's sort of so I not only do I have specialist training, but I also have personal experience of what works, what doesn't work.
And for the front end, because we're going to get deep into this, like I said, where can people find you and how can people find out about you? I want to get that in at the front end as well.
So I'm on Instagram at Janie Perry Wellness, or go on my website, janieperry.co.uk.
Brilliant. So that's, again, if anybody wants to get more information, they would put it at the front end because we'll probably run out of time like we usually do on these things because we'll go down some rabbit hole about something. Right. So I think as runners, I think in terms of nutrition, as a running coach, I'm asked about like who should we speak to about nutrition and nutrition. They're all going to come your way now, by the way, Jenny. I'm going to send everybody to you. But it is that one thing I think as runners that we try and balance out. I think it's that sort of push and pull. We know we should be doing some things, and I think we get some things wrong, and then we get some things right. There's that the reliance on the carbs and the carb load and the carbohydrates and all this sort of stuff. And then you get people obviously starting their running journey as part of a weight loss journey as well. So let's start, I think, with the beginner runner, if that's okay. In terms of somebody who's starting out in their running journey, catch the 5K or maybe doing park run or whatever, but they want to lose a few pounds. What's the sort of just the one or two things that they should focus on in terms of nutrition to go alongside that?
So what I would say is if you are training, you have got to get those carbs in. And so it's really a question of mixing carbs, protein, and healthy fats in the right amount for you. And it's so difficult for me to say how much because we're also different, you know, we're age, sex, etc. But it is just playing around. You know, if you've got a rest day, then you don't need so many carbs. And also another thing to do is to really focus your carbs around your training before, during, and after, and then maybe in the evening you go low on your carbs. So I am not about deprivation. I'm all about us eating regularly and often. As runners, we really need to do that. But it's just playing around so that you're reaching your goals.
How does it work? Like, where you see people saying about being in a calorie deficit, right, and then trying to balance that out with like carbohydrate intake, obviously protein intake as well. But like, how can you balance that out? I'm just thinking, so like, like if you're trying to, if you're in a calorie deficit because you're trying to lose a few pounds and obviously stuff like that, where do you go with that? What do you prioritize? Again, I know, I think you just said it about the carbs, but I don't know, how's that work?
So I would say again for an athlete, you're you really want to make sure you get that protein in. So I'm always looking for an athlete at about between 1.2 2 grams per kilogram of body weight. So
Mm,
make sure you get that in. Build in your healthy fats because they're actually anti-inflammatory, which means they help with recovery, they help with soreness, they help with pain, they bring down inflammation. So that's things like flax seeds, chia seeds, avocado, olive oil, nuts, seeds, oily fish.
mm,
So make sure you're filling your plate with those.
mm.
And if weight loss really is your goal, just make the carbs smaller than you would do normally. And remember, don't forget your veg. That fills you up. It's full of vitamins and minerals. So make veg, particularly green veg, a good focus of your plate.
Okay. So the sort of more regular runner, right, who's in a training block, like so Hayden's in a training block at the moment. He's training for Chicago, although he looks like he's going to fall asleep. Hayden, you're still he's had a
I'm
long day.
listening.
I know
I'm
that
I know,
voice.
listening. I'm
I know.
taking in. I'm
I've just
taking it in. It's
Hayden.
on for me. This is really interesting,
I
but
know it is.
it's
I know.
difficult for me because my diet is
Well,
not.
okay, all right. Well, I'm going to
Jamie would have a
stop.
heart attack if she
No,
saw my.
hang on. I'm going to stop
Give us
now.
some photos.
Go, Hayden. Just
Yeah,
just you're training for a marathon. What
yeah.
does your week of nutrition look like? That's stretching,
Training
really.
for a marathon or not training for a marathon, for me, it doesn't change at all. The only thing that changes for me is the lead up day, 4 or 5 days leading up to a marathon. Obviously, the carb intake I increase. I go with the standard. Well, I think the standard. I'll start off with 7 grams per kilogram my body weight, depending on what weight I am at the time. For the first day, second day I move up to 9, third day 9, fourth day I drop back down probably to about 7. That's just to make sure I get enough carbs inside my body. But when it comes to running, that is the only thing I focus on. I will focus a little bit on protein, on recovery. For me, finishing a long run, getting protein straight back into my body is really important, and salt. But that aside, for me, if I'm training this, I'm on week 9 of Chicago plan. This will
Mm.
be no different than it was 11 weeks ago when I wasn't in a training plan. For me, my diet doesn't change for that reason. And that might be a good thing, might be bad. It might be a way for me to get faster, a way for me to perform better. But as it stands right now, mine doesn't really change that much.
So, Jane, do you think he should make some changes? Will that help him perform better?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I'm always looking at is how you're feeling because I think that's such a good indication of whether you're eating enough, and particularly carbs. If your training load has gone up, you need more food. But what I tend to look at is how are you sleeping? If your sleep suddenly goes downhill, are you feeling very tired? Is your body really sore? Are you lacking that motivation to go out and go for a run? Those are all sort of signs that maybe you do need a bit more food, and also just keep an eye on your weight. If you're losing weight, you need more food. But if you've got a really intense training day, then you definitely need to get those calories in.
I'm glad I had those 2 bags of crisps now.
I didn't say crisps.
No. So
No,
what would you but what was your this is the thing, right? And I've been on like a weight loss journey for this training block, which might seem nuts, but at the start of the training, I focused in on basically I've lost a stone and a half in about, I don't know, 8 weeks, probably I don't know, whatever it was. And I did that really through increasing my protein, prioritizing protein,
you
a
starve
little bit of
yourself as well.
no, I did some intermittent fasting, but on days where loads were low. So as I was increasing mileage at the start of the block, I was intermittent fasting, which I didn't have a problem with. But as my mileage has now increased, I'm back to where I'm in terms of intake as normal. But it's kind of hard to, I don't know, just to balance it all out, isn't it? Like as you say. So today because yesterday I did 12 miles a day. I was doing 8 miles. Yesterday was 2 harder sessions. I felt like I needed some more. uh, fuel. I get like an anxious feeling if I'm not eating enough. Does that make any sense? I don't know if you heard that before, but
No,
I
no.
I'm an anxious person anyway. But I can just feel if I'm training harder, I feel my anxiety levels increase a little bit, and then usually, and if I have something to eat, it tends to calm down a bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I would say make sure that you're getting. Did you say you were doing 12 miles? You know,
Yeah, I do 12. Yeah.
make sure you're having something to eat before. You know, 12 miles is good mileage.
Mm,
Make sure you're getting something to eat before you go out.
mm,
I set a timer on my watch for every half an hour, and have something to eat. And then when you get back, have something which is carb and protein based.
mm,
Afterwards, for recovery, I'm always looking at a sort of 3-to-1 carb to protein ratio. Something like chocolate milk is brilliant, or poached eggs on toast, or a protein shake with some fruit in it, maybe some nuts and seeds. Let's put those healthy fats in there.
mm,
So yeah, you're looking for that you want to restore your glycogen stores, which you've got get depleted when you run,
mm.
with your carbohydrate, and you want to help your muscles repair with the protein, and then you want healthy fats in there just to help that inflammation, soreness, and help that recovery.
I,
So I think don't be afraid of eating often and regularly. I say for runners who are really putting in the mileage, 3 meals and 2 snacks, but just make them healthy. And when I say healthy, use real food.
mm,
You know, try and avoid the packets of crisps. You just use real food. Avoid those ultra processed foods.
mm.
Um, and yeah, get your veggies in where you can.
So after that run today, for lunch, so I had I had more heavily focused dinner, but just for lunch, I went jacket potato and beans.
Right.
After it was 8 miles today, it was 12 miles yesterday. Just for my lunch today, I had jacket potato. Usually for lunch, I'm having something like I'll have a load of chicken or some form of protein and salad is what
Yep.
I tend to
Healthy.
have for lunch. But it's really heavily protein focused on in the early part of the week on like so from tomorrow, maybe Friday, if I've got a longer run, like 20 miles, something like that, it'll be more carb focused than
Yep.
the protein focused. But so after the run, yeah, I had that, which I think helped. As you said, that's interesting what you said about that sort of ratio. What's in terms of like the old fueling thing, you said about the half hour thing on your watch. Obviously, people taking gels, people taking different supplements or whatever. I'm personally somebody who takes gels, but I have been questioning whether I'm taking enough carbohydrate in the gel that I currently take. So the gel I've got at the moment I use is 27 grams, and I take that every 35 minutes roughly.
Okay.
Then, but my mate, and this is where it gets. This is where I'm glad you're on because I listen to my mates instead of like professional. He's using a gel that's 40 grams of carbohydrate.
Yep.
Is that too much? Or is that should I be doing that?
It's a really, really good question, and I love this question. So basically, our bodies can tolerate 60 grams of carbs. If you're using a gel that is glucose or maltodextrin based, so I don't know what gels you're using,
I'll get one
but
out here.
if you're using a gel which adds in fructose, you can
Mm,
take up to 90 grams an hour.
right.
It's the way the body deals with it. So, and it deals with it as 2 sugar sources. So, if it's glucose or maltodextrin based, then it's 60 grams an hour.
Mm,
More than that, and you're risking gut distress, basically. And so 90 grams if you're using fructose as well. Now, my question to you is if
mm,
it's a long run that you're not doing at marathon pace, do
mm.
you need more than 60 grams? In a race, you might do. Um, so I think it's something to play around with. And I yeah, and work out, you know, whether a 20-minute feed or a 30-minute feed is better for you, also depending on how many carbs there are in your gel.
Yeah, so I was just looking here, carbohydrate, so this is so okay, this is Kendall. I
Right.
like these because 'cause they're mint and they're a little bit easier on the gut, right?
Yep.
The one my mate was using, was the Sports in Science one, which is the new one they've got out, the beta one, which
Yeah,
has
so
got
that has got fructose in it.
yeah, and now I tried one of them, and without being crude, I was just belching for like the next 3 miles. I was like, this is a bit different, but at the same time, I did feel like towards the end of the game, we was 21 miles. It's a hilly route, and I still felt like I didn't feel underfueled.
Yep. Do you
So
know,
that's quite
I think I really think with gels, it's a question of playing around and work
mm.
out what works for you. Fructose for some people can cause gut distress. So it just depends also how on your stomach is. Mine isn't great.
No,
So
mine's not great.
I have to be very careful. So I would say if you felt better, then maybe you are better on 90 grams an hour. But just play around with it and see how it works for you.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I might play around with it.
And maybe play around it at the Great North Run. See
Well,
in the
yeah,
race.
I've got. I'm actually, to be honest with you, it's a bit of a target of mine. I've got 15 miles Saturday. I've got a 16-mile goal run next weekend. So these couple of weekends, I'm trying to dial that side of things in. That's why again, it's really timely you being on, trying to get that right because I feel that I need to optimize that fueling side of things. So important. People underplay how important it is because if you empty the tank and you don't front load, for example, a lot of people don't front load necessarily in the marathons. Come mile 21, your brain's playing up mainly because you're underfueled.
Couldn't
Uh,
agree more.
um,
And also hydration is so important because
yeah,
that really can affect focus.
yeah,
So, and
yeah.
I think the other thing with long runs is, which I think is different from sort of, an intense interval session or whatever,
Mm,
is actually your preparation starts the night before. So if you've got a 20-mile hilly run, really get a good meal in that night before. If it's going to be hot, get some electrolytes in as well.
mm.
So I think long runs, you really want to think the day before as well if you can.
What about with stuff like where people are training against my coaches out? If I'm training somebody for like a 10K, like 5K over like a I don't know 10-12 week period, in terms of the diet, does that shift slightly like less carbs, more protein because of the recovery and that side of thing? Is there a slight shift versus like your marathon or your endurance runner, let's call them, versus
Yeah,
like some
I mean,
speed?
if you're training, I mean, training for 10K is great, isn't it? And
Mm,
not, but it's different from training for a marathon. So your training load isn't going to be quite so heavy or unlikely to be. So
mm.
yeah, you factor all of that in, and maybe your nutritional needs aren't quite as great as if you're doing those really long training runs.
I've got a
If so,
question for you, Janie.
yeah,
It's
go
quite.
on.
I think about this actually on my run while I was out. So next year, you're never going to believe this. Be prepared. You might have to sit down and be shocked. Next year, I'm 50. I'm 50 years old
No,
next
no,
year.
I'm
No,
not
so
having
I
that.
know you're going to be
Don't
shocked by it.
believe
I
it.
know
He's
that.
72.
You,
So,
you really don't. You really don't look at it.
so what my question is, do you think should I be treating my diet and my fueling differently with regards to running as I did when I first started running when I was around like 35, 40 years old? Should there be a shift? And if so, how big should it be? Or should I just be doing exactly the same?
I would say as we get older, it definitely gets, our bodies are, it's harder.
Yeah.
So I would say, what I see a lot is just that people as they get older, they're not getting that protein in.
Mm,
So, our protein needs as we get older are even greater. So,
Okay.
I 1.6 to 2 grams per kilogram. I think I said 1.2 earlier on, but 1.6 to 2 kilograms, 1.2 to 2 grams per kilogram of body weight for protein. Just make sure that you're getting that upper end, and also focus on those healthy fats to help inflammation, because as we get older, that's more likely. And so, yeah, I think it's not always about diet. And I think the other thing to think about is, as we get older, and something which I really, really prioritize, is sleep.
Yeah.
That is so important. I mean, it's as important as getting your diet right. So focusing on sleep, focusing on those rest days, focusing on time out, just, you know, and doing the stretching, the conditioning, the yoga, getting some meditation if you need to. And I know that all sounds a bit, sound a bit woo-woo to people, but it really does make a difference. As we get older, and I say this as a woman in the middle of her 50s, it really does make a difference. But I think, look at your nutrition, but look at everything else around it as well, because it is equally as important.
Yeah,
How is,
absolutely. Yeah.
how is
It's
sleep?
Yeah, it is. And talking about inflammation, because I realised, and as years have gone on, this is a topic that's definitely we hear more and more of. And as you said, as you get older, it becomes more and more important. And at the moment, I've had issues with my knee, issues with my back and stuff. And a lot of it is and it is inflammation. And obviously, taking your ibuprofen, etc., that's a way of reducing it. But we all want to do it naturally, which is much better. So I've been drinking the turmeric shots because apparently they are great anti-inflammatory. And you hear about all this and stuff, and you think, oh, maybe this should work, and you're doing it. It don't feel any different at all. But what is your opinion on things like that? Anti-inflammatory drinks, turmeric, how good are they?
Yeah, I think turmeric is brilliant. Always have it with black pepper. The black
Oh,
pepper is
really?
activate that. And actually, you may well find your shot has black pepper in it, but
Okay.
you just make sure that. Do you know? I mean, I just sprinkle turmeric on my food. It's so cheap, and I add the black pepper. I think I'm sure your turmeric shots are brilliant, but I think you can do so much with just food.
Well,
Uh,
to be fair, yeah, they're expensive as well. You go down the route where you go and buy the turmeric shots. It's bloody expensive. So just putting it on your food is going to be a lot more cost saving as well. And but does it sprinkling some sort of powder on your food? How can that have the same anti-inflammatory effect as drinking a whole shot?
Well, I would say look at what else is in your shot. Again, we're talking about real food here. If you can
Mm.
have things that are just from your kitchen cupboard, and it's not just the turmeric, it's about having a whole anti-inflammatory diet. There is a blog on my website actually on anti-inflammatory foods, but actually it is, berries are a great anti-inflammatory food.
Mm.
Green leafy veg. I mean, that is such a big win. And I'm talking sort of kale, broccoli, cauliflower. Cauliflower is a green leafy veg, which is bizarre, but spinach, spring greens, salads. And they're really, really good at detoxing the body. And as athletes, our detox needs are much higher than the average person because of what we're putting our body through, the stress hormones that have been created. As you say, there are a lot of people taking anti-inflammatories, pain medication.
Mm.
There's a lot of sports gels, which some of them aren't great, some of them are much better than others. And so our detox needs are really great. Ammonia from protein breakdown, and so get those green leafy vegetables in for your detox, and also just because they're filled full of vitamins and minerals.
Gosh, just one question about them. Just also, so
He loves a question.
I do like a question. I'm interested. Is there any difference in me? Let's just say I went out today and bought two big lumps of kale, some broccoli, all these bits and pieces, and I sat there and ate them all in one go. Just so I was really weird. Didn't want to cook them up and say, or if I put them in my Ninja blender and blended them up with water, will I get exactly the same effect? Because some people
What
say once you start blending things and you start adding ice to it, so obviously I've never had sugar, but when you start adding other things to it, people are like, no, you're mucking about with it. It's so much better for you just to eat the raw product there and then.
I would say with veg, it's I don't have an issue with that at all. You're getting. I would say with all those veg, I wouldn't actually necessarily have them raw. I'd slightly steam them
Yeah.
and do that. But yeah, no, I mean we're talking real food here.
Mm.
Cool.
I've got a question, and apologies, weirdly my internet's crashed. I think in 3 years never happened, but brilliant. The sort of I think what people get freaked out about most is like that sort of pre-race meal and what they should be having and that kind of hopefully they've been practicing all the way through, right? But what would you say is like an optimal day of eating before a race. Now, again, appreciate what we're asking for is that somebody doing this all the way through. So, like, what would breakfast ideally look like? What would like, and the day before, what would like lunch look like? What would dinner look like? And then race morning, and in your mind.
So I would say you want to keep it really simple.
Mm,
You really want the bulk the day before, say you're doing a marathon, you really want the bulk of your meals to be carbs.
mhm.
You want very little fat because you don't want an issue with that. That can cause stomach problems. So really things like bagels with maybe a bit of peanut butter on it, some cottage cheese, um, uh, little veg. Again, you don't want gut issues the on the day.
Mm.
So that day, in terms of a nutritious meal, it's not going to be your greatest day,
Yeah, yeah.
but you want to get those carbs in. So yeah, I would say things like bagels with a bit of protein. Stay away from the veg, stay away from the high fiber, and in the evening, pasta maybe with maybe a bit of pesto or a bit of grated cheese. Just
Mhm.
keeping things very simple. Again, it slightly depends on the person
Yeah, of course.
because
Yeah.
because some people can eat anything the day before, and
Yeah.
that's absolutely fine. I really can't.
Mm,
So, again, it's playing around with it, work out what works with you. But really that day before, you're really most of what you're eating is carbs with a bit of protein and taking out that fiber. Race day morning,
mm.
um, I would say eat 2 to 3 hours before the race. So that might mean getting up early, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
That is, and what we're doing at that point is we're just topping up our glycogen stores.
Okay.
So we're topping up our liver glycogen at that point, which depletes overnight. So really what you want is, again, carb focused, but you can have a bit of protein in there. So things like porridge, perhaps with a bit of protein powder, a bagel with some peanut butter, um, toast with a banana on it. Play around, but just something you could have scrambled egg on toast if you wanted. So something simple. It doesn't need to be massive. And I think again that goes to the day before. It's really important to eat, and I say really eat regularly and often. So I
Mhm.
would go for 3 meals and 2 snacks, but don't overdo it because
Yeah.
every you don't want to, there's all certainly I think there is less now, but there really used to be this go and have a massive
Mm.
pasta blowout the night before,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then you just wake up in the morning and you feel sluggish and you feel bloated. And what you have to remember is every gram of carb you have, you store 3 grams of water. So that's why you feel sluggish and bloated.
Mhm.
So get those carbs in, practice it, but don't overdo it.
I've got one more question, and then I've got one more question about this, and then I've got something else interesting to ask you. But so we've done Chicago. Hayden and I have just won the Chicago Marathon, right? For our age group, his is a lot different to mine. Um, what is then that sort of post-run, post-race meal? What should again? I think you're going to go protein heavy, but like in terms of because when I finish a race, I not being funny. Firstly, I don't want to eat anything for a while.
No.
I know I should half hour, but I'll get some protein and that lot. But I'm one who doesn't really care much for it. But then all of a sudden, I get an urge to smash the living daylights out of something. Now that
Like
can be
McDonald's normally.
it can be Macca's, it can be pizza, it can be whatever Daisy wants. It's like I don't know. I know that's not necessarily the right thing to do, but what in a nutritionist perfect world does a recovery meal look like?
So you're quite right. Try and get something in half an hour after you finish. And often the best way for that is just to have something in your race bag. A
Mhm.
protein shake, a cereal bar. You could take a bagel with you, or something. But what I would say is, if you just run a marathon, you deserve to eat what you want to eat. I don't really
Hero,
often say that, but
hero.
I think you are allowed to.
Okay.
And but if you wanted an absolutely perfect meal, then
Mhm.
yeah, you want to really start getting the protein back in and those healthy fats. Put your turmeric on there and your black pepper. That's when you need it. And in an ideal world, you get your green leafy veg in there, or
Okay.
any veg really. And you get your carbs in. So I would say looking at a really balanced plate. But
You just
that's
run a
enough.
marathon. Okay.
You just run
Last thing last thing I want to finish on, Hayden, unless you've got anything. But the last thing I want to finish on, do you write like, my sense ignorant, but do you write like people like plans that could go alongside like, so a marathon plan, for argument's sake, 16 weeks. Some people we do all different, but could somebody come to you and go, I really want to sort my diet out, and I want that to work alongside my marathon training? Is that something that you guys like a nutrition? Again, it's me being ignorant.
Yeah,
Is that what you do?
no, absolutely. So if anyone comes to me, what I get them to do is in advance is to do a 3-day food diary. And I get them just for those 3 days. And I know it's really boring, but really try and be as accurate as they possibly can about what they're eating. Then I analyze all that and work out exactly what they're eating. And I also get them to do a training diary, and I work out what their needs are. And then we go through that together, and I tell them the foods that I think ideally we should take out. They might agree, they might not. And then we make swaps, and then we just make that diet over time as good as it possibly be for them. But it's all a negotiation, and I want people eating food they really want to eat. But yeah, we just make the changes that work. And often I'm dealing with very busy people, so it's got to work. And
Yeah. That's interesting. I wasn't 100% sure on that. Hayden, anything on your side to finish?
I was too scared to ask about weight loss jabs, so maybe not. Maybe I've got nothing else to add.
I think we should. Yeah, so I think that's another day. I mean, again, like as I said to you at the start, I lost a stone and a half, and I didn't change anything dramatic. I cut out the rubbish. I cut out the crisps. Like tonight, it's because I fancied them as a treat because I've been working my socks off, right?
Yeah.
And I felt, like I said to you, I felt that sort of anxiety feeling in my stomach. So I knew I hadn't fed, and I ate them early enough that I feel like it's again because I was in the habit of eating stuff late and all the bad stuff, right? So all I did was switch what I was doing. Yeah, I did a bit of intermittent fasting, but nothing crazy. Yeah, I didn't do anything with anyone because I didn't want, I'm not those jabs and all that. It's not for me. All I wanted to do was just lean up a bit, so it just helps me in terms of my performance as I run and in the gym. So yeah, I think that's an interesting thing. So again, just remind everybody. Again, anybody who asks me now about nutritionists getting plans, I'm sending them your way. Okay, it's just easier. Because Hayden and I have absolutely no clue what we're talking about. So we're going to send everybody your way. It's true. So we're going to send everybody your way. But can you just remind everybody where they can find you, and if they want to get in touch, how they get in touch, please?
So Instagram's a great way to get hold of me, at Janie Perry Wellness, and my website's janieperry.co.uk. Just get hold of me whatever way is easiest.
Simple as that. There we go, people. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good luck on Sunday.
Yeah, it's so important that we talk about this because we get inundated with this stuff. And I always say, and we always say it on the podcast, we're not qualified to talk about this stuff. Yeah, we can give you our experience, but that means nothing. So it's really good to have some of that quality advice that we can give out to everybody. So thank you very much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for everything you do for the
Thanks very much. All right, where's the outro? I've got the Hayden's gone. I know why. I'll tell you after. And then I'm going to play an outro now. So stick around and then you give me some more tips. Right. So bye, everyone. Thanks, Sketchers. We'll see you later.